I don't think any other agent that they're with is telling them about. They're just basically, here's a policy you always had, and so we're going to continue to keep. I want us to have a conversation of why you have these coverages, and that's my I love my sales team because they go into that conversation of why you're going to pay and why you have to pay for these things.
On today's episode of The Buzz, Courtney and I sit down with Ryan Underhill, and we talk about how he has grown his business over $3 million in premium over the last 2.5 years. And we're going to be breaking it down from, hey, how is he recruiting? How is he retaining his team? How is he retaining his current customers with some strategies that you may not know about or have never thought about? And we're also talking about his program where he is running a farm team and also his core unit in his agency. So with that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we are super excited about our guest today, Ryan Underhill. Ryan, what's going on, my man?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Dude, we are excited to be here with you today. I mean, your numbers are amazing. You're 2.5 years in. You have a $5.2 million book of business. So you purchased $2 million of that. That means you've grown over the last 2.5 years, $3.5 million in growth. In the last 2.5 years, look, a lot of agents across the country continue to tell us this is some of the hardest times we've ever had in the industry. And so I think that's where I want to start with you, Ryan. Like, what would you say has contributed to your, because it's one thing to write production. It's another thing to actually grow. Like a lot of agents write a ton, but they lose it out the back door. Look, you're not losing it. You are writing it and you are gaining. So I'd love to just start there with what would you contribute to your success over the last 2.5 years?
Blessed with a team and organization that wants to buy in. So my team has been awesome from the start. I've had most of the same core added on, and those have stayed on too, which always helps with retention and those kind of things. And my service team is, I would call it one of the best in the industry. They are always engaged with the client and trying to keep those policies with us. That's the easiest thing for us to do and the cheapest thing for us to do is to keep those kind of our current clients, because it's expensive to go out and find a new lead. If we can keep our current clients happy, making sure with forms and everything in Michigan, those are all done too. The retention portion is going to stay, and then my new business team has been amazing. They've bought in. We role play. They follow through. If they don't, they'll hear a yell from my office calling them out on something, either a single line or something else. So they understand those kind of things. They always want to have them do one more thing or one extra thing to make them better. And that's been happening the last 2.5 years now, which is all right. I'll take it, I guess.
Yeah. No, and look, obviously it's going to start with you as the leader in the agency. So credit to you. But when you say, let's dive into some of these real fast. So when you say you have the best service team in the country, what does that look like that you believe is keeping your current customers happy and not leaving you when they get rate increases? Because look, your customers are getting rate increases. So what are some core service practices or principles that you have that you believe is helping with the retention of your business?
Yeah. So initially, it's really fun because there's forms for everything on all sides. They make you sign. If you have any kind of changes to your medical, they make you sign. So that's like the first things first is like getting out in front of that. Our policies start showing up about 60 days for renewals before that. So Abby in our office is already calling and sending out those forms so no rate increases happen because of those missed forms. And then also, we're never calling in regards to a rate increase. We're going to call no matter what. We're just going to check in and see how they're doing, and then from there we can have conversations on their policies and what differences we can do to help them if there is a rate increase happening. We don't really want to call before renewal because that usually is that issue that, oh wow, yeah, your policy is going up $400 this year. We didn't want to have that. We just want to talk to them throughout the year and kind of check in with them, just make sure going on that worked. And when you do have big increases, we're getting out in front of it. Having those conversations already, 3-4 months before the renewal even happens, before we know that they're going to have an increase, so that we started taking care of it, and we talked about deductible, we talked about coverages, we talked about other things we can either, take off, or why this rate increase is happening because of the great coverages that you already have. And that really does help. So I have three on my service team, and basically they kind of split off between Farmers and Bristol West business, along with my manager and Jasmine in my office doing the actual FFRs, farmer return reviews,
Yep.
on a weekly basis of the people. We try to do today we try to do like one every 2 years per customer. If we can do one FFR per customer every 2 years, that would be good. Check in with our book size and how I keep on growing, depending if I add on more diversity numbers.
So how many, just out of curiosity, so you said you're calling your customers. Are you calling your customers every 6 months, every 3 months, one time a year? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so we have automation that's sending out, just the check-in text and emails to them. Just that's happening basically every quarter, along with a newsletter from that too. So that kind of check-in has on the bottom like, hey, want to review, or can we set up a time to review? Right in the bottom, if they're clicking into our Calendly to actually set up a meeting that way too. And then on the call side, we're calling basically every, depending on how we can get to it, every 6 months for a customer if they haven't already had an FFR that last 2 year period.
Heck yeah, man! I'm so glad. I don't want to skip over because we've talked about this before. If we were running an agency today, we would do a newsletter once a month to our customers.
I would build a whole brand.
Yep.
I would make it a whole media arm of the insurance agency, have a newsletter, have a podcast. I would have like a sequential drip via text message. Like I would create this whole like go-to resource. If you have questions about not only your bill, but like what's happening, like why are things happening the way they are?
Because
I got so excited I threw my microphone. I'm like, God.
Well, the newsletter, I love that you're doing it even just once a quarter, because an educated customer is empowered. And even if they ever shop you, they leave you, they're not going to receive anything like that, which automatically increases the opportunity of them coming back to you. And so I don't want to skip over that little thing that you mentioned that is a huge deal, because that's a really, really big deal when you are in a competitive environment, marketplace like today, where there are thousands of insurance companies, there are new disruptors coming in. And if you can build that relationship through education, here's what's going on, here's the why behind what's going on, man, that's a big, big deal. And I would imagine that's part of why your retention is the way it is and why you're growing.
I also think it's the two things on that, like with AI now, like ChatGPT, you can put stuff in and get something from that in seconds. Like that's usually how I'm finding new things to talk about, and that's how that newsletter is being made. So it is really easy to do too. And then on my sales team and my service team, I want them to know, even if they're not going to be a customer fraud, I want them to understand the policy, a lead or a client, to understand what they're paying for. I don't think anyone else, any other agent, that they're with is telling them about. They're just basically, here's the policy you always had, and so we're going to continue to keep. I want us to have a conversation of why you have these coverages, and that's I love my sales team, because they go into that conversation of why you're going to pay and why you have to pay for these things. If not, this is the result that could happen. And if we can't help them based on price, if they go down to it, it's always made price. If we can't help them, sorry, but I hope you learn more of it today than you were, 30 minutes ago on this phone call. So
yeah,
that's always been a goal of mine too, for education for clients.
That's that. I mean, obviously,
Absolutely.
that's our like core value that we preach at Weaver Sales Academy. Like you have to educate your customers, because so many, look, yes, price is important, but 9 out of 10 people say they're willing to pay more for something if they find value in it. And insurance is no different. It's just you're skipping, most people in the insurance industry skip the education process and go straight to the price. And that's when it becomes a price war. Not that that's where we got to go in this podcast, but I love that you're doing that, man. Like that's a big, big deal.
I'm curious, on your newsletter, your call to action is booking a call with like an appointment with you directly?
Not. I would do it. Yeah, depending on, I usually would do it. I've tried to have the team do them too. so the service team to actually handle them. So I can focus on different other things. But it's usually going to three. I'm like the last resort in Calendly, or it goes to like Bree and Jasmine first, and then if they're happy, I would bump some my calendar, I
Yeah.
guess. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Right.
round robin feature.
Okay.
yeah.
So we've talked a lot about servicing. So just out of curiosity, what's been some of the best lead gen strategies? Is it internet leads? Is it community events? Over the last 2.5 years, what's worked best for your agency in the growth portion of the agency?
Yeah, I'm in the same town where I have been now probably almost 10 years, going on 10 years back into Marshall. I grew up here, so my parents are both teachers here, so I've done amazingly at community. I love that my kids are involved. I'm involved all the time anyway, so if you look at my social media, it's always about what's going on either in Marshall or in Michigan, wherever we're at that day. So that has really driven our success. It really does help. Like when I go to a bar or a restaurant, and this happened twice last week that people are like, "I see you everywhere," or "I see your poster," or I'm like, "That's exactly what I want it to be like." So thank you. Yeah, it's working, I guess. So like on the social media side, it's connecting people to us, but also me in the community. That has been a huge success on our side. That I bet probably 40, if not more, percent of our business is coming from this community itself, and then the rest is coming from like our social media and SEO, and also like internet leads. So a good portion still is coming from my community. That I'd rather have it, dump the money into, community like the organizations in our town that I loved, and build that way, and then to throw it to a $12 lead that would not ever talk to and ever care about me. So
Yep.
I love that you bring all of this up. I'm curious when it comes to community events, the thing that we really struggled with was what was the thing that actually converts business? We tried so many different things and it was so hard to track because it was really a lot of awareness. Have you found anything that really converts? Is there some kind of like, I will do this thing for quotes that you're like, yeah, this is the thing that works?
I've never been. I felt yes, and I don't know. I guess I know the way to do it, but I've never been one to also think of what I do as I'm going to get a lead today. I've always thought about it. Okay, if it's not today, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, this person will be reaching out to me because they have a rate increase or a bad claim situation. Then now they see Ryan everywhere. That now Ryan can help them and at least try to see if they can help them. I've gotten lucky with, just different organizations, those kind of things. You do a quote for a donation kind of thing. But other than that, I've never been one. They're coming in, so it's definitely somehow working. But I've never been one to actually push for like, hey, I'm having a conversation with you at this market areas, social event. Can I quote your business? I've never been that kind of person. It's always been like, this is what I do, so I can help. And then 6 months later, that person's reaching out to me, call my office, stopping by my office. We see him at one of our kids' soccer games, and hey, Ryan, can you quote my business? I'm like, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So
The old farmer quote. Plant the seed, and you got to harvest the crop eventually. But
Yeah.
first, you got to plant the seed. I like that.
yeah.
Okay, so before we hit record, you said, when I'm looking at my 5-year plan, I have already hit what I thought I was going to hit in 5 years. And you did it in half the time. And part of your process is a big protege team. Like you have put a lot of agents into agency and every company calls it a different thing. Some call it an aspirant program, but there's always some kind of placement. I'm curious, was that part of your 5-year plan?
Yes. So I came from State Farms, though. That was one of my goals is to try to. I was with them for 7 years, and I got at that basically the last 2 years. I got the opportunity to finally start looking and interviewing for offices. So I thought to myself, like at that point, I could have been a good agent at that point too. but why did it take you that long? That if I can get that same opportunity to someone else and speed that process up, I can help them out. So it was always a plan in my to do protege for individuals, not to the extent of doing 9, over a 2.5 year period, but it is pretty sweet to see them now. I think out of the 9, only 2 are no longer with farmers, and to see the other ones just having success and growing and going through the same kind of struggles with staffing and those kind of things that I do. It's like, you guys, it wasn't as easy as I made it seem. It is hard. The stress shows in my beard and everything else. So, yeah.
So
But I think the perfect program itself is amazing, and to give people a fast track to agency and have their own doing the door with their boss, that it's something that wish there was more opportunities for people out there. It goes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny. You're like, finally had an opportunity. So we hear that a lot. But I want to dive into the turnover of the proteges. Okay, so you said earlier you have a core team. So you have your core team. It looks like, and then you have your protege program. So I would love to know what your recruiting process looks like, because if you constantly have that revolving door, dude, that can be a freaking, while it's really amazing and you're helping people get into a dream situation from a business owner standpoint, that's really tough having that revolving door every 3 to 6 months of you get somebody good, you get them trained up. Well, they're on to the next thing. So what does that look like in your agency?
So, trying to stack it. I've always tried to stack, not having more than 2 start at the same kind of time-ish period. Because if you have more than 2 graduated around the same time, that's where you really see a big drop in production. But I'm trying to find people that to replace that are motivated and have the same kind of attributes, if not better, work ethics as the previous, and it's worked. But to find them, I'm very lucky that my district basically is that first line that I have my ideal trades opened. We have all the different postings out there for either normal sales positions in the office and or leadership positions, and they're the ones really doing that first touch base and finding, all right, based on I have a certain assessment I want to see. This person fits Ryan assessment. Let's give them a call, have the conversation about Purge. If that person wants to deal with Purge, they'll let me know that. If they don't, then they'll be a normal team member. They'll have that same conversation, and then I'll be with them in person. But that has saved me so much time, not wasting my time going through and trying to sort, does this fit me? Is this what I want? The district's doing a great job of actually using my ideal traits to their advantage, but also to mine, that I'm not the one wasting my time trying to find the next person to fill that void.
So your
I'm
district
always
is
hiring too.
yeah, so your district's helping you with the recruiting process.
Yeah, which is nice.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
And it's also that I follow what they want to do also. So we should be contacting, if it's the district's going to send me someone, it's someone from my ideal traits, I should be contacting them in the next 2 to 3 hours after. Because they just come on the phone with them. So I want to contact them, set up a time to come into my office, them in-person meeting. A lot of times, our district doesn't do that for people because, a week later, our Matt Hendricks, Mike's ABC will reach out and go, "Hey, did you reach out to that person?" It's like, "Nope." Like, all right, probably won't go back to you then for a week going forward then. So I've always been on top of that.
The crazy thing is, this just sparks my memory. We would have people that would apply for positions and they wouldn't be a good fit for whatever reason, and they wound up becoming our best customers, and they would become referral sources. I was thinking about this, about how important it is to recruit, and I'm like, oh, I completely forgot that became something that we actually fostered more of. So when you have this protege turnover and you have your service team, I'm curious on, what is your sales team? What is your consistent sales team? Or is it just your proteges?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing. So you've got your farm team with the proteges. So what does your core unit look like? Is it service and sales? Is it just service? What does that look like?
So most of my core team is my service side. And then I do have proteges that are in the protege program, but they still want to launch in that year period. So they have another 2 years after that fact to actually launch. So I have 3 of them right now. So I consider them my core. 'Cause I know for the time being they are going to be with our office for a longer period of time. And then from there I have another figure out 3 um, 3 proteges currently that have a set time of when they actually do want to launch. So that makes it easy for me um, to kind of plan. So that if September is my next one, I believe. If I don't hire someone that wants to do it sooner, September should be my next protege that's going to leave. I just had Matt leave on last Friday, so but I brought someone in about 2 weeks ago to start studying and those kind of things to replace Matt. And then my next one will be September. What I've been told so far is what she wants to actually launch. So that makes it easy to get someone else up and running, get them to a place that their goals are being hit. That when Jasmine drops off and starts her office, and it's hopefully a good replacement and good. We're not seeing a dip in our production because of that.
So the ones that haven't worked out, the proteges that didn't go on and become a good fit, or even your sales team or even your service team, I would be curious if you could pin down what the thing was that you're like, this is why it didn't work. This is the behaviors that I noticed, the attitude that they had.
Great question.
Thank you.
So I think the buy-in. I think there's 2 things. I think the buy-in. Once you're an agent, it's you're the one in charge. You're the one that makes the decisions and has to do that. Has to show up every day, especially if you don't have staff. I think that's the biggest thing that two people fail on is not hiring staff and not always recruiting for staff. Because there's issues like this. Like someone leaves, you don't have someone to replace them, and then you're kind of in a pickle because you're kind of screwed. Along with
Been
that,
there.
is,
You're not
trying
kind of.
Yeah, you are.
You're tough.
Yeah, you're like, where's the warm bodies?
Yeah. So that and like that buy-in of like understanding how a business works, and when you get your commission checks, realizing that's not a check to go out and spend on a BMW or house, something like that. That's going to be something that you're going to put forward to use as an investment to keep on growing your business every month. You see a lot of new agents that get those first couple of checks and they're like, oh wow, this is huge money. And if you're not doing it the right way, you're not focusing your resources and your money towards hiring your staff and marketing, you're asking for failure basically.
Yeah, you're not investing back in your business.
Oh my God, I have to tell this story. This just came to me. One of our first team meetings that we ever had, we were like 30 days in, and we were in this phase of, we went scratch, so we're paying attention to all expenses. And one of the first team meetings that we called that was like a serious team meeting, not a production meeting, not a training meeting, was about toilet paper and the use of toilet paper. I will never forget this. I remember Michael being like, this is serious shit. I'm like, clearly we are overusing toilet paper. I was the only female, so I'm like, don't you be looking at me. This is on you guys. You guys are pooping too much on the job.
They're going through a roll a day. I'm like, what we doing? We got bills to pay, and I don't want toilet paper to be one of my biggest expenses.
You start drawing a line every three sheets. Like this is that's the limit.
Okay.
Things that you don't think about before you go into agency.
Yeah.
That was a leadership learning lesson from me. I shouldn't have made such a big deal about going through a roll of toilet paper a day. But man, like when it's tight and you're operating out of scarcity, which I was like,
I'm gonna start stealing. I'm gonna start stealing them from the gym. That's what's gonna happen. I gotta steal them from somewhere. Oh my gosh, I just had to share that because there's so many things when you get in and you're like, oh my gosh, you get those first checks and then you think, okay, this has to be invested back into the business. I'm curious because you keep bringing up buy-in. Sorry, I had to do a poop joke. I mean,
that's great.
I had to.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just mentioned
it was
my daughter loved that.
It was a serious thing. I'm like, okay, got it. You keep bringing up buy-in. When you talk about buy-in, are you talking about buying into themselves, buying into the vision that you have for your agency, buying into their carrier? What exactly? Clarify that a little bit for me.
Yeah, I think for the ones that have graduated Protege wise, that buy-in's gonna be in their own agency and what they can do for themselves. My team, the buy-in there is I'm very open about um, how much I make and how much the office makes. I want them to understand like commissions, those kind of things, not only for the purchase, for my whole team to understand like, okay, we're doing this much stuff. Ryan must be rolling in money. But that's not how it all works. That there's different things. I want them to understand those things. That it's definitely it's nice to see when they understand because they work the leads better. They understand that what these leads cost per per lead and not just taking there for advantage. And I've you could tell the people that don't have that buy-in and kind of trying to funnel them off because we're a team, and if we're not going to act like a team, and you're going to be the outsider that wants to do their own thing and be a cowboy, we're not going to be successful that way. So I kind of push those people, their protege, probably get you out of here faster, or if they're a team member, maybe a different office or a different career choice would be better for you. So,
how would you be able to discern that they're not bought in? You said you can tell when they're not bought in. What are some like obvious indicators?
Yeah, for activities, those kind of things. So if they're not up to like every day, completing activities or getting to what I want to see, the 80 dials a day, this the 10 contacts and 6 quotes. If they're not doing that on a daily basis and not trying to hit those numbers, there's not that buy-in. Like you're not doing the thing that just the bare minimum I'm asking on a daily basis to hit your goal to get you to a point that you want to be at for income. That's an issue to me because I shouldn't be your cheerleader every time. You have to step up too and be that person too.
Especially if you're going to own your own business, you better be your biggest cheerleader, baby, because you're going to be your biggest critic. So you better be your biggest cheerleader. Yeah. I have one more question for you, Ryan. Something that you would share, whether it was maybe one thing that you did really well over the last 2 years that you think somebody listening to this could benefit from, or maybe something that you really struggled with and you kind of learned a lesson that you could share that somebody right now starting an agency, or maybe they're a year, 2 years in, if they're going through that same struggle, they could come out on the backside through the conversation that we're having. So you pick the route you want to go, something you've done really well or something you struggled with that you had a learning lesson and now you do well.
Yeah, I think my first 3 or 4 months, I was kind of stuck at like the 4, 5 team member spot, and I was looking at it as like team members as a expense, salary, commission, and more leads because of that. All expenses, that it finally clicked for me that I shouldn't consider them as an expense. They're an asset, they're a profit source. That if I can coach them to a point that they're doing what we need on a daily and monthly basis, that'll allow us to be profitable as an organization too. It's those people that aren't that way, either coaching or coaching them out. To get to that point, and if that kind of triggered me ever since, that was basically probably February of 2023 when I actually realized, like, all right, let's take this. And that was probably my worst month with farmers. I think I did like 38 or 42,000 in premium, my worst month. And since then, I started hiring. I'm always like basically job posts always up. If I find the right person and they're right fits our office, I'm going to bring them on. I haven't looked at it as an expense since, so it does stink on the 10th and the 25th to just write those checks, but they're a great team. I love building it, so it's fun.
It may stink on payday, but in 6 months when those renewals hit, that doesn't stink.
And watching them
honest,
do the things that they want to do.
Yep.
Like when your team says, I'm trying to buy a house, and then they buy the house, you're like, oh,
I love it.
Yeah, this is it. Okay, I have to dissect this because I'm always obsessed with the micro actions that lead to a shift in perspective. Like I'm always obsessed with how does somebody get to this spot? Because I believe that a miracle is just a shift in perspective when you can see something from a different angle. So what happened that made you, did you read something? Were you, because the month, February of 2023, my worst month, but then you shifted your perspective. I'm curious on what made that happen.
It was between hearing Vlad talk about his team size and looking at it that way, along with just continuing to listen to my district manager, Mike Daniel, and finally, Mike always tells me it takes 6 months for when I hear it the first time for Mike to tell me something till when I actually listen and implement it. So he's basically dead on. So, but those two people looking at a different lens of seeing it, and Vlad's team is going to have times bigger than what mine is still at today. So, hearing him say that and hearing him talk about coaching and doing better every day and trying to get to their activities, I thought to myself, I can do the same thing and do it so that looking at a different lens than looking at it as an expense. So it makes you happier inside, I guess, when you look at it that way. And if you have someone that's bringing you down, that's when you have to coach them up or coach them out. So.
Yep. Well, all great businesses are built by great people. You can't do it by yourself, man. So I love that. Yeah. I'm so glad I asked that question because when you answered it that way, I was like, let's go. Yeah. Because I think that's something that I would assume all new business owners struggle, and I shouldn't assume, but I know that was something that I struggled with. Like just as a new business owner operating out of, I barely have any money. How am I going to do this? I can barely pay my own bills. But the best investment you make, in my opinion, the best investment you will ever make in your business is the investment that you make in your people to help you grow that business. So, Ryan, this has been fantastic, man. You have any other questions?
No, this has been great.
Ryan, if somebody wanted to connect with you, maybe just follow you in your success, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you made me look at my Facebook now, but through Facebook it's the Underhill Agency or just my name, Ryan Underhill. Instagram, we're Underhill Agency also. So yeah, and we're very active there too. So they'll see everything for the Marshall community and in Michigan whole. So
yeah, you do a great job.
Guys.
Yeah, you do a great job. Ryan, thank you for today, man. This has been fantastic. For all of you that are tuning in right now, thank you so much for your support as always. Like, we really do appreciate you. We hope that you are liking what you're hearing on The Buzz. If you ever want to hear from anyone, maybe a topic you want us to talk about, just shoot us a text, 816-727-7610. Other than that, time and attention are by far our most important assets, and we appreciate you spending time with us today. Go out and make it great. Ryan, thanks again, brother.
So, thank you.